Yeah, like yesterday, another two games all done and dusted. No real surprises, I don't think. This is all kind of what we expected to happen. Sadly, perhaps I don't know if that's the right word. We try to be objective here, right? We try to be objective and not have favorites or not have any preferences, but we did really want a slightly different result potentially. England are through after a penalty shootout, and yeah, the Netherlands are through, which is fine. Yeah, that was absolutely fine by me. But yeah, let's start with England, the big one. I guess that's the big one. What did you think of them in general, or the game actually?
Well,
Did you think
as
they?
usual, what we discussed, I think England, I think Switzerland had more chances to score for sure.
Mhm,
A lot more
mhm,
XG. XG don't win games, and we all know that. But at least from an opportunity perspective, Switzerland had their chances. They couldn't take it, and England once again, I think. What, this is the fifth game that they have not scored. Then France are going more or less neck to neck on who scores, does not score, and then still keeps winning. So that's okay. I think, yeah, I mean, overall a boring game, to be entirely honest. It wasn't really a sparkling game of football. Uh, but even with that, I thought Switzerland had the chances if they wanted to take it. They didn't, and they got punished. What is good for or redeeming for England would be that they have lost out on penalty shootouts earlier. I think the last one, Saka missed, and they went out. I think yesterday all five converted. That was great. At
yeah.
least for England supporters, that'll be great that they have gone
Mhm,
ahead. And so from that perspective, yes, the dream of England bringing it home stays alive. Even though it must be said that
yeah.
the England Femini have already brought it home a few years back. So it's probably that should be given due credit. So yeah, the chances are there that they still get to make it. But overall, if you ask me, the game was boring. I didn't really like it or enjoy it that much. And we can go into the tactics and so on. But here we are, and Switzerland. I think they deserve more for what they played, but deserving
Mhm.
does not have any value in football, right? So you score the goals. The ones who score, who will they win? So
Mm.
basically,
Exactly, yeah. It's a bit, it's a bit kind of a bit unfair of us to say, okay, they did not deserve this or that, because obviously something is working for them, right? They're not playing free flowing football. They're not really entertaining the masses, which there's always that entertainment factor here, right? We're looking for that every single game, and we don't get it from this England side. But they have been, I don't want to say efficient. They've not been really efficient because they're not using the resources that well or optimized. But it still
I think it's
works.
a
At least it
Southgate
has
thing.
been. Right? Yeah,
I
yeah.
don't know. Like if you see all their games, Tom, you will see that for the first half they're
Hmm.
really passive. They don't really do anything. Almost all the
Hmm.
games, right?
Hmm.
So maybe it's this Southgate philosophy of okay, I'll soak in the pressure and I'll not do much, but I'll not concede too much or what have you, and just play cup
Hmm.
football. I think that's basically
Exactly.
what it is, which makes them so soulless at times, to be like the way they play football. But if it works, it works, right? The Mourinho
Exactly.
did the same thing, and it worked for Mourinho, so it worked, and so on. So
Hmm.
there is no point in being puritanical or you're saying like, okay, we're purists and so this football has to be played this way or whatever. So yeah, that argument will still be there, but yeah, I mean, it was so boring, honestly.
I think for me personally, that's the way I see this. I look at this England squad, and I look at all the individuals they have. They have Bellingham, they have Saka, they have Kane. They have good defenders as well. They have great midfielders. They have Rice. So when you look at it from that perspective, like individually, like one of the best number nines on the planet, right? One of the best right wingers on the planet. One of the best number six on the planet. They have the La Liga's best player, Premier League's best player, and you have all these players, and yet you don't really play the way that you can play. That's my thing. So there's no right or wrong way to play football, but if you have certain tools, certain abilities, certain skill sets, and you don't utilize or maximize them, that's what bothers me as someone who analyzes football and tries
100%.
to look at it objectively. Yeah, so that's the thing here. So it's not about, okay, they should be playing free flowing, entertaining, possession style of play. No, it's not that. It's just that it's the same with Barca, right? We don't mind a Barca that's more direct, Barca that's more vertical, Barca that's more defensive if it works and if it's aligned with the profiles that we have. But if it's not, then that's the
It's the
problem for me,
clueless
right?
Barca that we don't like, and that's the one that
Yeah,
we get
no,
to see most of the time.
I know, I know.
And I
So
think it's
it's
also, I don't think, like, I don't know what's your point of view, but I think Southgate just, the setup, Saka, Bellingham, Kane, all these amazing players that he has, right? How does he get the best out of them in the same unit? I think Southgate's done a great job of that. Personally, feeling like I'm no one to criticize his work or whatever, but that's what I've always felt. Like they could have got a lot more, probably with this lineup, as you rightly pointed out. But for somehow the game seems so static and so devoid of risk is maybe the word, or what have you. But yeah, it's just yeah. I enjoyed, even in the defeat, I enjoyed whatever little I saw of Switzerland, even though they were also pretty pragmatic, to be entirely honest. They weren't really coming flying out of the tracks to just score a goal or whatever. I think both teams were pragmatic. Both teams held their held their own and held back a little bit, which does not always make for a great game of football. But you do what you need to do for cup football wins. So I think that's what we saw. But, and one more, penalty shootouts are important, and they add color to the game. So yeah, that was fun. But and maybe for neutrals, it was like a neutral game. British fans obviously will be happy. But if you ask me, yeah, that was
It's very difficult to be
the tactics and all of that stuff.
I just want to say it's very difficult to be neutral when it comes to England, precisely because of the way they play, but also the way they perceive themselves. Kind of, why are they so? I don't want to say hated, but they are disliked by many, right? I think that's the right way to say it. They are disliked by many as a nation, not necessarily the footballers, right? People love England players because they have tremendous players, but it's the punditry and then the public statements and some of the fans, because
the
media
does 100%.
They have so much
media. People don't dislike the players. It's the hyping of, okay, Premier League is the best, and this is the best, and everything about England is the best, and all that stuff, right? And that happens, and that's probably what riles people up. Players are players. Players are good.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's a player thing. But yeah, I mean,
no, it's not. Absolutely. And then when you look at the results of this team, I mean, they drew with Switzerland basically, but they've been played off the park. I mean, I think Switzerland were the better side, and the same happened with Slovenia. The same happened with, I think, Denmark. It was close. Who else did they have? Slovakia. I think it was the same theme throughout the tournament, and then they won their games, right, when they needed to win their games, but they were not really a side that warrants such arrogance from outside the pitch, right? So I think that's kind of what riles people up, because you have this side that doesn't play that well, but still kind of scrapes wins, and then you have the media on the other hand who praises them like they're gods, right? So that's the thing that kind of riles people up and tells, okay, we don't like that kind of thing. If you want to be arrogant, at least back it up with something palpable, right? Something that actually gives basis to that claim. Right? So I think that's the big thing. But yeah, as I said, tactically not really impressive either. We can go more into that. But generally speaking,
I mean, you're absolutely right. It's a bit soulless watching them, even as a neutral, right?
Yeah.
Not they win or lose, honestly speaking, in cup football. So or in cup football. So I mean, it's okay if they win, it's fine. But it's just a little bit. Whatever. But Joanna got touch upon Harry Kane. Barely visible.
Oh yeah. I think that's very true. Barely visible is.
That was one thing that really hit me. That was barely involved. He's such a nice player. Bellingham also wasn't that visible. Declan Rice, I think, played better than the last two games overall. But overall, if you look at Saka, if you look at Kane, if you look at Bellingham, right? Very few combinations, very few touches, very less overall involvement throughout the 90 minutes that we were talking about.
Yeah, especially with Kane. I think Kane is having a very underwhelming tournament overall. I think he can still change it, right? He can still score some goals in the semi-final and then eventually in the final if they come to that stage. But I think asking the question, is Kane an issue, is a very valid one, because there have been some arguments for actually dropping Kane and playing with a different structure overall, maybe have a false nine with Foden or something like that, right? But never mind his playmaking. I think playmaking, of course, a big part of who Kane is. but his box occupation has been subpar overall because when there's a cross coming in and Kane needs to be inside the box, needs to be that lethal finisher, he's nowhere to be seen. For some reason, we have Kane hovering around the edge of the penalty area or even deeper, trying to play make whatever. And then you have Foden box crashing and other people trying to be inside the box instead of Kane. I don't get that, right? You need to have
But
Kane
how
in
does it
there.
change, Tom? This is the same guy who banged in, I think, 40 games in Bundesliga like not 1 month ago, right? Still, like, how does it happen? The player can't change overnight at all. So what's about this England side where, and this is not the first game, like it's been almost every other game where like he's been kind of marginal. You can't really see what he's doing. Can't be that he's a bad player or he doesn't like.
No.
Is it Southgate's coaching? Is it the setup? Is it the ability between Bellingham, Saka, and Kane to combine? They are individually great players, but can they play together? What is it?
Well, the thing with playing together, that is an issue because there's no balance in this team, right? You have individuals that are great, as I said, but they don't make for a balanced squad because England lack the width, they lack the depth, so they don't have different avenues to attack. All of their play converges centrally, especially. So what Southgate had done is he had changed Bellingham and Foden's positioning. So you had Bellingham on the left half space and Foden on the right half space. Now, the one good thing that did do was it brought Foden and Saka closer together. Theoretically, so on paper, they can combine better, create advantages through their individual quality. Yes, sure. But you don't get any overlapping potential from Bellingham and Foden. And you need that because your wing backs, your width holders are Trippier and Saka. Now, not Trippier, sorry. Yeah, was it Trippier? No, who was it? Yeah,
Alexander-Arnold.
No, Arnold was on the bench. It was I can't get my bearing right. Yeah, Trippier on the left. Yeah, Trippier on the left and Saka on the right with the width holders, right? So Trippier is on his wrong foot, meaning he prefers going inside. He's not really a width holder. He's not really a depth provider, right? That's not optimal. So you have him converge him inside, and you have Bellingham who won't really overlap. He can, but he's not an overlapping presence. And you have Saka on the right side who receives the ball in a very deep, too deep position and too wide on the right side. So he doesn't have that depth either. So that means England are missing one crucial aspect of the attacking force, right? So they don't have that width or depth, which means it all converges centrally and it's much, much easier to defend. So the squad is not balanced. You have great individuals, but not necessarily individuals who gel that well. It's similar to Barca. Barca have similar issues sometimes, but they don't have players who make for a very compatible squad, very compatible collective. That's kind of the thing. One of the biggest issues is exactly that. Now, Kane's positioning that we talked about, I don't know if that's coaching input or that if that's personal preference or his own decision. Okay, I need to move around the pitch, I need to be playmaking. But even if when he is doing that, when he does drop deep and he gets on the ball deeper and or wider or wherever he wants to be, he's now making a big enough difference to warrant such activity that draws him away from the penalty area. So I think it's still suboptimal, right? So if he was to drop deep, get on the ball and play make, he needs to do something more with that, right? And he's not doing that enough. So is it the lack of balance again? Could be, because when Kane drops deep and he doesn't have anyone to aim for that offers depth and running and box presence or enough box presence, then you don't get anything from that playmaking, right? Doesn't have anyone to play make for. So in general, it's a tactical issue, but I don't know if it's Southgate's instruction for Kane to be moving that way, or is it just Kane on his own volition deciding, okay, I want to do this because this is one of the things I normally do. And generally, it works for me at Bayern, it worked for me at Spurs as well. So maybe I should do it too for England, but it's just not clicking at the moment.
Well, they keep winning. So if you can win without clicking, I think it's good enough. So, as they would say. It would be really good to see France and England play with each other. It would be really amazing.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, seriously. I mean, they're both taking the same route towards the semifinals. So I think that it would have been great. Let's also touch on the game with Turkey a little bit on Netherlands. You'd be
Mhm.
happy the Netherlands just went through because you
Mhm.
wanted them to go through personally,
Yeah,
individually.
yeah,
What do you
yeah.
make of the game?
A much better game. I think it was in terms of entertainment, yes, a much better game. I was more impressed with Turkey actually than Netherlands necessarily. I felt like they have shown us the bravery that you need. Or not need, but it's always nice for us neutrals to see that kind of bravery. The taking risk and building out. Their center backs would even dribble out of pressure. They would pass out of pressure without that fear, and they really had a lot going for them, right? They have been very, very compact, out of possession, very brave and very direct and very on the same page in possession. I feel like they have earned more, but in football, it doesn't always happen that way, right? It's not necessarily that the team that shows more bravery, the team that shows more protagonism, the team that's actually trying to make things happen that goes through. But I was very, very impressed by Turkey, and I felt like after they had beaten Austria, I was like, okay, we need to keep an eye on these guys because they are really playing some good football, and they on paper they have earned their place and the top team among the top teams of the tournament. So I felt like, and you're a big fan of them as well. You've been talking about how you enjoyed their play. So I feel like they really they've earned their place here, right? So I was happy to see that. How did you see the game?
No, I think, as you rightly said, I think Turkey's played good football, and it's not
Mm,
the first time, right? It's been coming up, like just like in the World Cup, you feel like Morocco has become better over the years. I mean, their investments have paid off into youth soccer, what have you, but you can see them as a nation improving in football over the
mm,
years, right? And then now you can almost expect that they're going to be difficult to beat in a cup tournament. So same with Turkey. I think if you look into their league situation, also I think the league is also contributing in a large way. A lot of good players now making their way to Fenerbahce and the Turkish league to play. And I think that helps from a profile perspective. That helps from a game perspective. But overall, if you look at it, they played really well. I think from a coaching perspective, also Marcelo did a fairly good job, I would say, in terms of setting it up
mm,
against Coleman's setup. And
mm.
I would say they went toe to toe most of the game. It wasn't that they were played off the park or anything like that.
Yeah,
So that was good. And they have some. I generally think they have some really good individual talent.
to
Turkey.
do.
Look at it,
Mm,
right? Really good individual talent, and I personally still love football with a bit of individual talent more than group
mhm, mhm.
tactics or schemes or formations or what have you. There's something fun about watching a great player just playing amazing football, right? So I love that. So that I think Turkey has a few of them, and that makes them interesting to watch from afar. It's another thing that they could not win, but I also don't think they had. Um, and I don't know what you feel about it, but I don't think they had set up from that perspective in terms of uh, just exploiting the weaknesses Netherlands had. Netherlands had
Mhm.
weaknesses. Netherlands. It was known that Coleman would use a Weghorst up front, tall guy, feed in the crosses, feed in the boxes, create confusion in the box, and just go with it. So they knew. So to counter that kind of a game, and it's I just don't think that I saw from Turkey. I saw good football,
Mhm.
but yeah, that was kind of missing. If you, yeah, to me, if you ask me, that was my initial. But I enjoyed that game far more than the other game with
Mhm.
with England.
Yeah, as generally speaking, yes. Turkey were more about being this compact defensive unit, right? The 5-4-1 setup off the ball is kind of the theme of the whole tournament. I think most teams who defend deep or who back off from a high press, they go into a 5-3-2 or a 5-4-1 kind of deep block, right? And Turkey are one of the most compact and best drilled teams in that low 5-4-1 block. However, what they did lack was kind of the ability or the concentration or just that skill or endurance to keep going in that. So if you have that approach where you say, okay, we're going to defend for 90 minutes, we score one goal and then we're going to defend for the large periods of the game, you have to be able to endure that period, right? And to survive the onslaught that comes with that approach. Now, I feel like Turkey maybe is due to maybe the lack of individual quality. Yes, as a collective, they are very good. They are very compact. They defend really well. However, when that bit of quality is lacking or bit of endurance is lacking, cracks start to appear, and that's what has happened after with this game as well. And even against Austria, I think from minute 60 onwards, Turkey were a bit of a mess, right? They were very, very brave, very solid, very compact from minute 1 till 60. But then something happens, they run out of steam, and the defending gets progressively worse. I think that was kind of the big issue against Netherlands as well. They couldn't really sustain that approach well enough. But yeah, I mean, generally speaking, that's what they are all about, right?
But I still felt that, they scored, I think they scored in about 36, 37th minute. Kadim, that was the first goal. And then Netherlands took a long time to equalize, about 35 more minutes, about 78th minute that De Vrij actually equalized. I do feel there was a second goal there for Turkey.
Yeah.
Had they taken it, that was the game. That was the end of the game. And it is, what I felt bad was they could not capitalize on that and go for that offensive immediately after the half broke. So immediately after they came back after the first half, I thought they could have gone out a little bit, all out, and then tried to get that second one. It's not that they didn't try; they tried, but yeah, I think that's where it got a little messy. And once De Vrij had equalized, and you had those, Netherlands was just incessant in their crossing, and then how they used the box to create the chaos. Turkey just didn't have that answer, and they were caught up in solving for that instead of taking the initiative or pushing the offensive on the opposite side, and that really is what caused them not to win. But till then, I think, from a football perspective, I think they are pretty much well on balance and on point.
Yeah, they're also a team that kind of maximizes their strengths, but a lot of it has to do with Netherlands. Actually, when I look at the teams that are left in the tournament just now, yes, England and France don't play nice football, and I would love for the Netherlands to kind of go through to the final and all that, but I was not overly impressed by what I saw from them either, right? So I don't think they've done anything of note in these games to actually solidify themselves as the real contenders as of right now. Okay, so that's, I feel like they lacked a lot in that game against Turkey, especially to be hailed as someone who can actually go for it all now. They could have been far more dominant, and they had too many phases of, I don't know, just inconsistency and phases of lacking some basic things to be real contenders. So when I look at the remaining teams, I don't see Netherlands as being among them, right? Okay, Spain are by far the best team left at the Euros, but both England and France are stylistically a bad match for Spain, right? So I feel like they all three have a chance, and Netherlands are kind of like somewhere in between. I don't see them actually doing much to the other three teams, unfortunately. Although I would love for them to be in a better position, but they're just not, and they've not impressed me enough to warrant such a status. I don't think so. If Koeman doesn't change anything going to the next game, I don't really know if they'll have enough to be completely honest.
I don't think Koeman can change anything. I don't think there's anything to change. It's not that they were missing any, Frankie de Jong, but they knew it long before. But apart from that, it's pretty much, Gakpo's been amazing for them throughout the tournament. And I didn't want to touch upon that. How do you feel about Xavi Simons throughout the tournament? We've been talking a lot about him because there was talk about him coming to Barca as a. Forget what he's been doing for Leipzig. What did you feel? I didn't really feel that he was being that differential. Right, sure, he played some good sequences here and there for sure, and he was a attacking outlet and a threat, but wasn't that differential?
No, not in this game particularly. No, throughout the tournament, I did feel like he was a part of a lot of good that was happening for the Netherlands, that team. So he was usually, let's call him, a tactical solution to every situation they had, right? So if they needed someone to progress the play, if they needed someone to press high, if they needed someone to be a box presence, or be someone to create. Xavi Simons is that person. He can be all of that if you need him to be. However, I didn't see enough incentive from him. No, I would agree with you on this game in particular. I don't think that he's been. Oh, they're just disconnected. It's fine. I'll just keep going on Xavi Simons for a bit. So yeah, I don't think that he's been as influential or as crucial as maybe he needed to be in this particular game. Now, luckily for him, the Netherlands have still managed to go through without having that additional support from other key players, and he is a key player, to be honest. So whether we see him as such in this particular game or not, he is usually a key player, and I feel like if they are to succeed moving forward, he will have to be that someone to push them a bit more than he has been so far. They've been riding on the shoulders of Gakpo a lot. Memphis Depay is also someone who's very influential. He's the set piece taker. He's the main creative and usually a big goal scoring part of this Netherlands squad. However, we've not seen that in the numbers right now. So they're mostly riding on Gakpo. So we have some connection issues, but they will hopefully be back very soon. So yeah, that's kind of what the Netherlands have to do. Yeah, let's see if we can take any more questions.
I think I'm back again.
Oh, there you are. There you are. Yeah, we had some connection issues. I kept talking about Xavi Simons and Gakpo and Memphis, but yeah, that's basically what I said was we'll need more from Xavi Simons if Netherlands are going to cause any trouble. Yeah, so
that's what I felt. And then I think Arda was pretty good throughout, and I think that was one transfer we missed out on. I don't know what really happened with Deco going and then saying that we're going to, and then Arda transferring to Real, but I think they've got a really good player.
They got that. Yeah. It's one of those things where we see a 19-year-old player who's struggling to get minutes at Real Madrid, and we're all like, "Oh, he's so bad. He's not worth the hassle."
No, he's
and he's pretty good. I think that us underrating him or hoping that he fails. I don't think that's going to do any good to us because his career trajectory is still pointing heavily upwards. So I think we should be ready for that as well. He's a real talent, and he's shown us that, right? Whenever he played for Turkey, he was a big part of everything good that's been happening for them. Never mind the assist. The assist was something that was impressive, but even without the assist, even without the final product, he is someone who influences a lot of good that Turkey do. So I feel like they do have a proper player, and unfortunately, Real Madrid have a proper player in their ranks.
I think Depay was a little bit off color. He generally is good in cup games for Netherlands, but in this tournament, probably was a little bit off key for them. But apart from that, I think Gakpo's been pretty good for them, and I think that was. And then obviously Virgil van Dijk was Virgil van Dijk. Now with this team against England, whom do you fancy?
Unfortunately, England.
If they play like this, it's going to be them, right?
Yeah, I think. On paper, it's England, right? On paper, it's England just because of the individual quality and
not
the way.
Paper, even proof. They keep winning.
They keep winning. So I think it still kind of edges slightly towards them. I wouldn't expect the Netherlands to be consistent enough to cause this England enough issues. They can score goals, but they've struggled a lot in the last couple of games. They've not shown enough for me to say, okay, they have a real shot at the title. And England, even though they've not shown anything either, they keep winning, as you said. They keep winning and they keep getting what they need from their individual players. Even if it's Bellingham, if it's Saka, someone can save them even if they play really, really badly, right? So I think they have that.
But it would have been good for Koeman to actually go to the finals. I just feel.
I mean, obviously, I wouldn't mind.
Yeah, really bad time. From coming to Barca, then losing the Barca job, then taking this job again. It would have been good for him to have something like that in his repertoire. Hopefully,
Yeah,
but
absolutely.
it looks like it's still going to be England. And then on the other side, we have Spain versus France, which can also go either ways, even because France keep winning. It doesn't matter what they do; they just keep winning. So in a proverbial, let's talk about two options here scenario. So if it's a proverbial France versus England or a Spain versus England, how do things stack up? Spain versus England will be La Liga versus Premier League. That'd be so much fun.
Yeah, I think I fancy Spain. As I said, I think Spain are by far the best team in the tournament. Tactically, structurally, they are the best team out there, but it doesn't guarantee anything. It's cup football after all, and both France and England are built really well for cup football, so that gives them that edge. And stylistically, they match up against Spain really well, right?
Yeah.
As you say, that's the kind of the very usual Barcelona kind of game, right? They dominate possession, they have all the technical quality, but then the teams just rip them apart in positions, and that's it. And that can realistically that can happen to Spain because they lack the physicality and they lack the defensive and dueling aspects that they would need to stop such a force as France or even England. So we'll see how that pans out. I still think they can win the whole thing, Spain. So in a very hypothetical Spain-England final, I will still back Spain. In a hypothetical France-England final, I would back France to win it all.
Dom's not backing England. That's the thing.
No.
That's what people
I'm not. Maybe I'm too subjective. Yeah,
that's all right. We get it. It's fine. But yeah, that's it. I mean, we'll obviously get to watch these games as they come around. 2 super games coming up. So we'll watch that. But yeah, this was a quick something to leave as the quarterfinals come to an end. Both the games were okay to me.
Yeah,
nothing was outstanding, to be entirely honest. But tough football is like that. Most of the times it's okay, and there's no point in complaining. So with that, we leave you back. And Vizca El Barça, any final words, Tom?
No, that's about it. I think we just wait for the semis, and we hope England lose.
We have no.
No, I'm
just
the
best team win.
Yeah, they're the best team win. Yeah, that's true. I'm just kidding, but yeah, that's about it. Right, we'll catch you guys. When is the next semifinal? Is it Tuesday? I think Tuesday night. I think so. We'll catch you guys then. I hope you guys enjoyed. Yeah, that's about it.